Dawn came too quickly. I'd spent the rest of the night sitting at Lawrence's kitchen table, staring at that photograph of Caleb, trying to make an impossible choice. Lawrence had called Jamal around 3 a.m., told him about the threat, asked if we should pull the interview. "That's your decision," Jamal had said. "But I'll tell you this, people who make threats like that are usually bluffing. They're banking on you being too scared to call their bluff. The moment you give in to intimidation, you give them all the power." "But what if they're not bluffing?" I'd asked, taking the phone from Lawrence. "What if they really hurt my grandchildren? Then they go to prison for child endangerment on top of everything else," Jamal said bluntly. "Ms. Carter, I've covered organized crime for 15 years. I've seen what these people do, and I've seen what happens when communities fight back. Yes, they make threats. Sometimes they even follow through. But more often, exposure is what stops them. Once their operation is public, once people are watching, it becomes too risky to act. So, you think the interview should run? I think you need to decide what kind of world you want your grandchildren to grow up in. One where criminals can operate with impunity because people are too scared to speak up, or one where people fight back, even when it's hard, even when it's scary." He had a point, but it was easy for him to say. They weren't his grandchildren in the crosshairs. By 5:30 a.m., Lawrence and I were drinking coffee in silence, both of us exhausted, both of us waiting for the 6 a.m. online publication of the interview. "We can still pull it," Lawrence said quietly. "I can call Jamal right now, tell him we changed our minds. And then what? We just let them win? Let them keep stealing from Marcus's practice? Keep targeting vulnerable people in our community? We keep you and Marcus and those kids safe," Lawrence said. "Sometimes survival is more important than justice." I thought about that, about survival versus justice, about all the times in my life I'd had to choose survival, staying quiet when I was treated unfairly at work because I needed the job, accepting less than I deserved because it was better than nothing, teaching Marcus to keep his head down and not make waves because that's how Black folks stayed safe. But where had all that survival gotten us? Marcus still ended up targeted by people who saw him as a resource to exploit. I still ended up betrayed and accused. Survival without justice was just postponing the inevitable. "The interview runs," I said firmly, "but we need to protect Marcus's kids. Can you call that contact of yours, the one who helps people disappear? Can they watch the kids, make sure they're safe?" Lawrence nodded slowly. "I can arrange something. Extra security at the school. Someone keeping an eye on their house. It'll be expensive, but I don't care about expensive. Use whatever savings I have left. Sell my car if you need to. Just make sure those babies are protected." He made the calls. By 5:45, he'd arranged for a private security team, people he'd worked with before, people he trusted, to provide discreet protection for Caleb and Amara. They'd be watching the house, following the kids to school, making sure nobody got close enough to hurt them. "It's the best we can do," Lawrence said, "short of kidnapping them ourselves and taking them somewhere safe." "Which would make me look guilty and crazy," I pointed out. "Yeah, that too." At exactly 6 a.m., Lawrence's laptop pinged with a notification. The Chicago Tribune's website had just published, "Mother accused of embezzlement claims frame-up by in-laws, an investigation into financial fraud on the South Side." We read it together, my heart pounding. Jamal had done good work. The article was comprehensive, but fair, presenting my accusations alongside the Williams family's claims, showing the evidence we'd gathered while acknowledging that questions remained. The embedded video showed my interview, my bandaged face, my raw emotion. I looked believable, I realized. I looked like a woman telling the truth, not like a criminal making excuses. "It's going viral," Lawrence said, watching the social media metrics. "Already shared 500 times. Comments pouring in." I read some of the comments. "This woman's son should be ashamed. Look at her face. Something's not right here. Why would a mother steal from her own son? Sounds like a scam to me. She probably did steal, and now she's playing victim. The Williams family are pillars of the community. This is obviously false." I live near that practice. Dr. Carter is a good man, but his in-laws always seemed shady to me. A mix of support and skepticism, which I suppose was the best we could hope for. My burner phone rang. "Monica, turn on Channel 7, she said, without preamble. "They're already covering the story." Lawrence switched on the TV. Sure enough, the morning news was showing clips from my interview, with anchors discussing the case. "Raises troubling questions about financial fraud targeting Black-owned businesses. Practice that serves thousands of Southside residents. Family drama or something more sinister?" Then they cut to a live shot outside Marcus's practice. A reporter stood on the sidewalk, the same sidewalk where Monica had photographed Bernard's nocturnal visits. We reached out to Dr. Marcus Carter for comment, but he has not yet responded. However, Patricia Williams, mother of Dr. Carter's wife, Shanice, did provide this statement. The screen switched to footage of Patricia, standing outside what looked like her Hyde Park mansion, dressed impeccably and projecting wounded dignity. "These accusations are absolutely false and deeply hurtful," she said, her voice breaking slightly. "Diane Carter has been part of our family for 3 years, and we've loved her as our own. It breaks my heart to see her making these wild claims instead of taking responsibility for her actions. The evidence against her is overwhelming, and rather than admit her mistakes, she's chosen to attack our family's reputation. It's tragic, really. We're praying for her, and we hope she gets the help she needs." The performance was masterful. Patricia managed to look both heartbroken and, above it all, a concerned family member more sad than angry about my false accusations. "Wow," Lawrence breathed. "She's good." "Too good," I said, feeling sick. "People are going to believe her." "Some will," Monica's voice came through the phone. "But not everyone. And now that the story's public, we can push harder. I'm meeting with my bank contact in an hour. She's going to help us get information about that account opened in your name. And Fletch says he's close to tracing the spyware back to its origin." "How close?" "Maybe by this afternoon. The command servers are routing through multiple proxies, but he's working backwards through each one." After Monica hung up, Lawrence and I continued watching the news coverage. Every major channel was picking up the story now. Some sympathetic, some skeptical, all of them hungry for the drama. At 7:30, my burner phone rang again. This time, it was a number I recognized. Nell, from the restaurant. "Diane, honey, you okay?" Her voice was warm with concern. "I just saw the news. Your poor face, baby." "I'm managing," I said. "Nell, I'm sorry if this brings trouble to your restaurant. The Williams family might nothing," she cut me off. "I've been in this neighborhood 40 years. I've seen people like them before. Rich folks who think they can do whatever they want to regular people. You keep fighting, you hear me. And if you need anything at all, you call me." "Thank you," I managed, my throat tight with emotion. "Oh, and Diane, you should know. There are reporters all over the place this morning. Outside Marcus's practice, outside the Williams house. Probably looking for you, too. You be careful where you go." After she hung up, Lawrence checked his security monitors. Sure enough, a news van had just pulled up across the street. "They found us," he said. "Must have tracked down my address somehow. Should we talk to them?" "No. We've said what we needed to say. Let Jamal's article do the work. If we give more interviews now, we look desperate." He was probably right. But it felt strange to just hide while the world talked about us. At 8:20 a.m., my burner phone rang yet again. This time, the caller ID showed a name that made my heart stop. Marcus. I looked at Lawrence, who nodded encouragingly. I answered. "Marcus? Mom." His voice was strained, exhausted. "I just saw the news. I just read the article. I need to talk to you. I'm listening. Not on the phone, in person. Can you meet me somewhere? Somewhere private." Every instinct screamed that this was a trap, that Marcus was working with the Williams family to lure me out of hiding. But this was my son, my baby, the boy I'd raised, who I'd loved before he even existed. "Where?" I asked. "Grant Park, the Rose Garden, in 1 hour. Just you and me, no one else." "Marcus, if this is some kind of—" "It's not," he said, and for the first time in days, he sounded like my son again. Uncertain, scared, confused, human. "Please, Mom. I just need to see you. I need to understand what's happening." I looked at Lawrence again. He was shaking his head, mouthing, "No, too dangerous." But this was Marcus. This was my chance to reach him. "Okay," I said. 1 hour, Rose Garden. I hung up before Lawrence could stop me. "That's a bad idea," he said immediately. "That's a terrible idea. It could be a setup. The Williams family could be waiting there to what? Kill me in broad daylight in a public park? Lawrence, this is my son. If there's any chance I can reach him, I have to take it. Then, I'm coming with you. I'll stay back, keep my distance, but I'm not letting you go alone." He said, "Just me." I don't care what he said. "I'm not losing you again, Diane. Not like this." There was something in his voice, something raw and desperate, that made me look at him more closely. Really, look at him. Maybe for the first time since I'd called him that first night. He looked older, yes, worn down by 20 years of living in hiding, of looking over his shoulder, of trying to atone for abandoning his family. But underneath all that, I could still see the man I'd married, the man who'd promised to love and protect me. He'd failed that promise once. Maybe he was trying to keep it now. "Okay," I said. "You can come, but stay out of sight. If Marcus sees you, he'll bolt." Deal. We drove to Grant Park in Monica's car. She'd left it with us and taken an Uber home, figuring my car and Lawrence's truck were both too recognizable now that my face was on the news. Lawrence parked several blocks away, and we walked separately to the Rose Garden. It was a beautiful morning, sunny and mild, with families already spreading out picnic blankets and joggers following the lakefront path. Normal people living normal lives, oblivious to the drama unfolding around them. The Rose Garden was relatively empty this early. I spotted Marcus immediately. He was sitting on a bench near the center, his head in his hands, looking like a man who hadn't slept. I approached slowly, my heart hammering. Lawrence had positioned himself near the entrance, close enough to intervene if needed, but far enough to not be obvious. "Marcus," I said softly when I was a few feet away. He looked up, and I saw his shock at seeing my bandaged face in person rather than on a screen. "Mom, oh God, your face." "Second-degree burns?" I said, sitting down beside him, but leaving space between us. "Your mother-in-law's soup was fresh off the stove." He flinched. "I didn't know it was that bad. Patricia said it was just a splash, that you were overreacting. Did she also tell you that?" She smiled while she did it. "That she said I deserved it?" Marcus's hands were shaking. The interview, the security footage, the evidence of spyware on your phone. Is it real? Did you fake any of it? It's all real, Marcus. Every bit of it. Someone opened a bank account in my name. Someone stole from your practice. And someone has been surveilling me for months. But it wasn't me. It was your in-laws. That's crazy. Bernard and Patricia wouldn't. They've been nothing but supportive. Have they? I interrupted gently. Really think about it, Marcus. When did the problems at your practice start? About 6 months after I married Shanice. And when did Bernard start coming around the practice more? Start offering to help with paperwork? Marcus was quiet, thinking. Around the same time, he said he wanted to understand my business better, wanted to support us. And when did Patricia start making comments about me? About how I was too involved in your life, how I needed to step back and let you be independent. From the beginning, Marcus admitted. But I thought she was just trying to establish boundaries, help me grow up. Or she was isolating me, making sure I didn't have access to you, didn't have the ability to notice if something was wrong. Marcus stood up, pacing. But why? Why would they do this? They don't need money. They're wealthy. Bernard's businesses are successful. What would they gain from framing you? I don't know, I admitted. But Lawrence thinks. Lawrence? Marcus spun around. Lawrence Carter, my father, the man who abandoned us 20 years ago. You've been working with him. He's the one who figured out what was happening. He's been tracking an organization. An organization, Marcus repeated, laughing bitterly. Mom, do you hear yourself? This sounds insane. This sounds like conspiracy theories and paranoia. Then explain the security footage, I said firmly. Explain why Bernard and Dominique were removing boxes from your practice at 5 a.m. Explain the spyware on my phone. Explain why someone impersonated a police detective to try to intimidate me. I don't know. Maybe there's an explanation. Maybe Bernard was moving supplies to a different location. Maybe, Marcus. I stood up and took his hands, forcing him to look at me. Baby, look at me. Look at my face. Do you really think I stole from you? Do you really think the mother who raised you, who sacrificed everything for you, would betray you like that? His eyes filled with tears. I don't know what to think anymore. Everyone's telling me different things. Patricia says you're lying. Bernard says the evidence against you is solid. Shanice says... He stopped. What does Shanice say? He pulled away, wiping his eyes. She says she doesn't know. She says her parents wouldn't lie. But she also says she can't imagine you stealing. She's caught in the middle, just like me. Or she knows exactly what's happening, and she's playing you, I said, hating the words, even as I spoke them. Don't. Marcus's voice turned hard. Don't you dare suggest that my wife is part of some criminal conspiracy. Shanice loves me. She married me. She gave me children. I'm not saying she doesn't love you. I'm saying she might not know everything her parents are doing. Or, I had to say it, or she might be complicit. Marcus, that security footage shows Dominique helping Bernard. Your sister-in-law is involved. How likely is it that one sister knows, but the other doesn't? Stop, Marcus said, backing away. Just stop. I can't do this. Marcus, please. I came here because I wanted to give you a chance to explain. I wanted to believe you. But this, he gestured wildly. Accusing my wife, accusing my in-laws of some elaborate frame-up, working with the father who abandoned us. This isn't explanation, Mom. This is delusion. It's the truth. Your truth, Marcus said. But what if it's not the truth? What if you've been so desperate to avoid taking responsibility that you've constructed this whole narrative to make yourself the victim? Those words cut deeper than the soup burns. You really think I'm capable of that? Of stealing from you and then making up elaborate lies to cover it up? I think people do desperate things when they're cornered, Marcus said quietly. I think maybe you needed money. Maybe you got in over your head somehow. And maybe instead of asking for help, you took what seemed like an easy solution. And now you can't admit it, so you're blaming everyone else. I didn't take anything. Then why is there a bank account with your name on it? Why are there deposits that match the dates of the thefts? Why does the forensic accountant say the evidence points to you? Because I was framed. Because someone used the spyware on my phone to steal my information and create fake documents. Marcus was shaking his head. This is exactly what Patricia said you'd do. She said you'd come up with some crazy story, some grand conspiracy, anything to avoid taking responsibility. Patricia is manipulating you. No, Mom, you're manipulating me. You're trying to turn me against my wife and her family, just like you've been trying to turn me against them since the day I got married. That wasn't true. That was so far from true that I couldn't even find words to respond. Marcus continued, his voice breaking. I loved you, Mom. I loved you so much. You were my whole world growing up. But maybe that was the problem. Maybe I was your whole world, too. Maybe you couldn't let go. Maybe you couldn't accept that I grew up and started my own family. And maybe this whole thing, the stealing, the accusations, the media circus, maybe it's all just your way of trying to stay relevant in my life. That's not, Marcus, that's not what this is about. Then what is it about? He was crying now, tears streaming down his face. Tell me, Mom. Tell me why I should believe you over everyone else in my life. Tell me why I should choose you over my wife, over my children's other grandparents, over the family I've built. Because I'm your mother, I said desperately. Because I raised you. Because I know you better than anyone. Because that's not enough, Marcus interrupted. Being my mother doesn't mean you can't make mistakes, doesn't mean you can't do wrong, and it doesn't mean I have to believe you no matter what. He started walking away. Marcus, please, I called after him. Please don't do this. Don't turn your back on me. He stopped, turned back and last time. I'm not turning my back on you, Mom. You turned your back on our family when you stole from us. You turned your back on me when you chose your pride over admitting what you did. This is just me accepting reality. And then he was gone, walking away through the rose garden, leaving me standing there with my heart in pieces. Lawrence appeared at my side a moment later, his expression devastated. I heard everything, he said quietly. Diane, I'm so sorry. I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe, couldn't process what had just happened. My son, my baby, my whole heart, had just chosen his in-laws over me, had just decided I was guilty, decided I was lying, decided I was the villain. And maybe he was right to. Maybe I had been too involved in his life. Maybe I had been too reluctant to let go. Maybe my love had somehow twisted into something unhealthy, something that drove him away instead of keeping him close. Or maybe he'd just been so thoroughly manipulated that he couldn't see the truth anymore. Either way, I'd lost him, and that loss hurt worse than any burns on my face. My phone buzzed. A text from Monica. We got it. Fletch traced the spyware. You need to see this now. Everything falls apart, but a breakthrough happens. Comment what you think they found. Subscribe for the explosive next chapter. We raced back to Lawrence's house, where Monica and Fletch were waiting with laptops and stacks of printouts. Tell me you found something, Lawrence said, as we burst through the door. We found everything, Fletch said, his eyes gleaming with the excitement of a tech geek who just cracked the impossible. The spyware on your phone? It was installed remotely through a malicious app that appeared to be a software update. That app came from a server registered to a company called Midwest Security Solutions. Never heard of them, I said. Nobody has, because they don't really exist. It's a shell company. But when I dug into the ownership records, guess whose name came up? He turned his laptop around to show me corporate filings. Bernard Williams is listed as a silent partner. He owns 30% of Midwest Security Solutions through another shell company. My heart started pounding. So Bernard's company installed spyware on my phone? Not just yours, Monica said grimly. Midwest Security Solutions has been operating for 7 years. They sell corporate security software, but what they're really doing is installing surveillance malware. And their client list. She pulled up a document. Over 300 small businesses across Chicago. Medical practices, law firms, restaurants, retail stores. All of them Black-owned. All of them in historically underserved neighborhoods. Lawrence leaned over her shoulder, reading. This is the operation. This is what I've been tracking. They infiltrate businesses, surveil the owners, steal their data, then use that information for fraud and theft. It gets better, Fletch said, pulling up more files. Or worse, depending on how you look at it. Midwest Security Solutions isn't the only shell company Bernard's involved in. There are 6 others, all doing variations of the same thing. Identity theft, financial fraud, property scams, and they're all connected to a larger network. The organization, Lawrence breathed. The organization, Fletch confirmed. I found server logs, email trails, financial transactions. Bernard Williams isn't just some random criminal. He's mid-level management in a sophisticated fraud operation that's been targeting the Black community for decades. And Patricia, I asked. Monica pulled up another document. Patricia Hamilton, her maiden name, was investigated by the FBI in the 1990s for wire fraud. Charges were dropped due to insufficient evidence. But the investigation report is damning. She was running phone scams targeting elderly people, stealing their social security numbers and draining their accounts. She did go to trial, Fletch added, but the key witness disappeared before testifying, and without that testimony, the case fell apart. The witness disappeared, I repeated slowly. You mean? I mean they probably killed her, Fletch said bluntly, or scared her so badly she went into hiding. Either way, Patricia walked free and reinvented herself as a respectable socialite. I sank into a chair, trying to process this. So Marcus married into a family of criminals, a family that's been targeting people like us for decades. And they saw his medical practice as the perfect target, Monica said. Thousands of patients, most of them low income, many of them elderly or vulnerable. Perfect marks for identity theft, medical fraud, insurance scams. By marrying Shanice to Marcus, they got access to all of that. Does Shanice know? I asked, dreading the answer. Monica hesitated. We can't prove it either way. She's not listed in any of the corporate filings. Her name doesn't appear in any of the server logs. She could be an innocent victim who has no idea what her parents do. Or she could be very careful about not leaving a trail. What about her sisters, Dominique and Essence? Dominique shows up in a few documents, Fletch said, mostly as a courier, moving materials, delivering packages, that kind of thing. Essence is cleaner, but she's listed as a consultant for one of the shell companies. Whether she knows what she's consulting on, I can't say. Lawrence was pacing, his expression intense. This is it. This is everything we need to expose them. Corporate records, server logs, surveillance footage. We can take this to the real police, not whoever they have on their payroll, but straight to the FBI. This is organized crime, interstate fraud. This is federal. But will they listen? I asked. The Williams family has connections. If they've got cops on their payroll, they might have federal agents too. That's why we go to the media first, Monica said. We give all of this to Jamal. Let him publish a follow-up story with the corporate records and the evidence. Once it's public, it's harder for corrupt officials to bury it. And once it's public, Marcus can't ignore it, Lawrence added. He'll have to confront the reality of who he married into. I thought about Marcus's face in the park, the betrayal and confusion and anger. He's not going to want to believe this. He's going to fight it. Then we make sure the evidence is undeniable, Monica said firmly. We document everything, triple-check every fact, make it impossible to dismiss. And we do it fast, before the Williams family realizes how much we know. My phone rang. Nell again. Diane, where are you? She sounded panicked. At Lawrence's house. Why? Because there are police at Marcus's practice right now, and they're saying they have a warrant for your arrest. They're telling everyone you're a fugitive, that you're dangerous. Diane, they're making you sound like a criminal on the run. My blood ran cold. But I haven't been charged with anything. The interview just ran this morning. I know. That's why this is suspicious. They showed up 20 minutes ago with this warrant, started questioning Marcus's staff, searching the building. Something's not right. Lawrence grabbed his phone and started dialing. I'm calling my contact at the police department. If there's a real warrant, we need to know about it. While he did that, Monica pulled up the Chicago PD's public records database. If a warrant was issued, it should show up here. She scrolled through recent filings. Nothing. No warrant for Diane Carter in the system. So they're fake cops? I asked. Or real cops with a fake warrant? Lawrence said grimly, hanging up his phone. My contact says there's no official warrant issued, which means either this is part of the Williams family's intimidation campaign, or someone leaked that we were close to exposing them, and they're trying to shut us down. Monica finished. Fletch looked up from his laptop, his face pale. Guys, we have a problem. Someone just tried to hack into my system. Professional-grade intrusion attempt. They're trying to delete the evidence. Can they succeed? Lawrence asked urgently. Not if I work fast. Fletch's fingers were already flying over his keyboard. I'm moving everything to encrypted cloud storage, multiple backups, but this means they know we have the files. They know we're coming for them. How would they know? I asked. The server logs, Monica said, realization dawning. When Fletch accessed Midwest Security Solutions servers to download the files, it probably triggered an alert. They know someone's been digging into their operation, which means we're in danger, Lawrence said. All of us. If they're willing to fake a warrant and send fake police after Diane, they're willing to do worse. As if to punctuate his words, there was a loud bang from outside. We all froze. Another bang. Someone pounding on the front door. Chicago police! Open up! Lawrence moved to the security monitor. 2 men in police uniforms stood on his porch, hands on their weapons. A patrol car was parked at the curb. Could be real, Lawrence muttered. Could be fake. No way to tell. Don't open it, Monica hissed. If they're real and they have a warrant, they'll break the door down. If they're fake, we don't want to let them in. Chicago police. We have a warrant for Diane Carter's arrest. Open the door now, or we'll force entry. Lawrence looked at me, his expression torn. If they're real, resisting makes everything worse. But if they're fake, they'll kill us, I finished, or disappear us. Either way, we can't let them in. Fletch, how fast can you finish that backup? Monica asked urgently. 2 minutes, maybe 3. Too long, Lawrence said as the pounding grew louder. I made a decision. Monica, Fletch, take the back door. Get out of here with the evidence. Lawrence and I will stall them. I'm not leaving you, Monica protested. You're not leaving me. You're saving the case. The evidence is what matters. If they get that, this was all for nothing. Lawrence was already moving, pushing them toward the back of the house. Go, now. There's a path through the neighbor's yard that leads to the next street over. Get out. Get somewhere safe. Get the files to Jamal. Monica hesitated one more second, then grabbed Fletch's laptop and ran. We heard the back door slam. The front door was starting to splinter under repeated blows. Lawrence pulled me into his bedroom, the one room that faced the back of the house, away from the street. We're going out the window. Can you climb? I'll figure it out. He had the window open in seconds, was already helping me through. I dropped into the backyard just as I heard the front door crash open behind us. Police, show yourself. Lawrence landed beside me, grabbed my hand. Run. We ran through his yard, through the neighbor's yard, jumping fences and dodging lawn furniture. Behind us, I could hear shouts, footsteps, the sound of pursuit. We hit the next street over, and Lawrence yanked me toward a parked car, an old sedan that looked like it had been there for days. He pulled out a tool I didn't recognize and had the door open in seconds. Hot wiring, I panted as he worked under the dashboard. Survival skills, he grunted. Learned a lot in 20 years on the run. The engine turned over. Lawrence threw the car into drive, and we peeled out, tires screaming. In the rearview mirror, I saw 2 uniformed officers emerge onto the street, watching us go. One of them pulled out a radio. They'll call it in, Lawrence said, taking a sharp turn. We need to ditch this car fast. Find somewhere to lay low. Where? They know about your house. They probably know about Monica's place. We can't go to a hotel. They'll have every cop in the city looking for us. Not every cop, Lawrence said. Just the corrupt ones, and anyone they can convince that you're actually a fugitive. My phone rang. Monica, we made it out, she said breathlessly. We're in a cab heading to the Tribune building. Jamal's expecting us. We're going to give him everything. Good. That's good. Monica, be careful. They might... I know. We're being careful. Diane... She paused. Whatever happens next, you need to know. You've already won. The evidence is out. The truth is going to come out. They can't stop that now. She hung up. Lawrence was driving through side streets, keeping to areas without much traffic. She's right, you know. Even if they catch us, even if they... He didn't finish the thought. The evidence exists. The story's going to break. But Marcus, I said, the fear finally breaking through. Lawrence, they're going to go after Marcus. If we've exposed their operation, if we've threatened their access to his practice, he's in danger, Lawrence finished grimly. They'll either try to silence him or use him as leverage against us. I dialed Marcus's number on the burner phone. It rang and rang, then went to voicemail. Marcus, it's Mom. I know you don't want to hear from me, but you're in danger. Your in-laws, they're not who you think they are. We have evidence, corporate records, everything. They've been targeting your practice, targeting our community for years. You need to get somewhere safe. Take Shanice and the kids and go somewhere public, somewhere with people around. Don't trust Bernard or Patricia. Please, baby. Just this once. Trust me. I hung up, knowing he probably wouldn't listen, knowing he'd probably think I was being dramatic or manipulative. But I had to try. Lawrence pulled into an abandoned warehouse parking lot, tucked the stolen car behind a dumpster. We can't keep moving in this. They'll have every plate in the city flagged. We need to find another way. Another way to where? Somewhere safe. Somewhere they can't find us. And then, he looked at me seriously. Then, we figure out how to end this. How to protect Marcus and stop the Williams family for good. My phone buzzed with a text from a number I didn't recognize. You should have listened. You should have stayed quiet. Now everyone you love will pay the price. Starting with Marcus's children. Attached was another photo. This one of Amara, my 3-year-old granddaughter, playing in what looked like the Williams family's backyard. She was smiling, holding a doll, completely unaware of the danger around her. And in the background, slightly out of focus but unmistakable, was a figure in dark clothing, watching her. I showed the text to Lawrence, and his face went white. They have access to the kids, he breathed. They're at Patricia and Bernard's house, and we have to get them out, I said desperately. We have to warn Marcus. He won't believe you. He thinks you're the threat. Then we go there ourselves. We get those kids out, even if Marcus hates us for it. Lawrence started the car again. That's exactly what they want. They're baiting us. They know we'll come running if the kids are threatened. I don't care if it's a trap. Those are my grandchildren. And they're counting on you saying exactly that. Lawrence gripped the steering wheel, his knuckles white. Diane, we have to be smart about this. We have to. My phone rang. Marcus. Mom. His voice was shaking. Mom, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. You were right. About everything. My heart nearly stopped. Marcus? What happened? Are you okay? I'm at my practice. The police showed up with a warrant, except it wasn't real. They tried to arrest me when I questioned it. One of them pulled a gun, Mom. They were going to... His voice broke. If my nurse hadn't called 911, if real cops hadn't shown up, where are you now? Are you safe? I'm at the actual police station, the real one. But Mom, Shanice, and the kids are still at her parents' house. I tried calling her, but she's not answering. I tried calling Bernard, but he's not answering either. Something's wrong. Something's really wrong. We're coming, I said. Lawrence and I are coming to get them. Lawrence. Marcus's voice held confusion and hurt. My father is with you? I'll explain everything later. Right now, you need to tell the police everything you know about Patricia and Bernard. Tell them about the fake cops. Tell them, I already did. They're sending units to the house now. But Mom, he paused. Be careful. If they're really as dangerous as you say, if they're really capable of... I will. Marcus, I love you. I love you too, Mom. I'm sorry I didn't believe you. I'm so sorry. The call ended. Lawrence was already driving toward Hyde Park, toward the Williams family mansion where my grandchildren were playing, unaware of the danger swirling around them. This is it, he said quietly. This is the end game. Whatever happens next, it ends tonight. I thought about Caleb and Amara, about Marcus's hurt and confusion, about 20 years of running and hiding and trying to survive. I thought about all the people the Williams family had hurt, all the communities they'd exploited, all the lives they'd destroyed while wearing masks of respectability. Then let's end it, I said. And as we raced through the Chicago streets toward whatever waited for us at that mansion, I felt something I hadn't felt in days. Hope. Not because I thought we'd win. Not because I thought this would be easy. But because for the first time, we were fighting back. For the first time, the truth was coming out. And whatever happened next, at least I wouldn't die, wondering if I could have done more. At least I would go down fighting for the people I loved. The final confrontation is coming. What do you think happens at the Williams mansion? Comment your predictions and subscribe. You won't want to miss the explosive conclusion. The Williams mansion looked exactly as it always did. Pristine, imposing, a monument to success and respectability. White columns flanked the entrance, perfectly manicured gardens stretched across the lawn, and warm light glowed from the windows, suggesting the kind of domestic tranquility that existed only in magazines. But I knew better now. I knew what lived behind that beautiful facade. Lawrence parked the stolen car 2 blocks away, and we approached on foot, staying in the shadows. It was nearly dusk, that golden hour when Chicago seemed to glow with possibility. Under different circumstances, it would have been beautiful. "Police should be here soon," Lawrence said, checking his watch. "Marcus called them 20 minutes ago. Response time in Hyde Park is usually fast." "Not fast enough," I said, studying the house. Through the large bay window, I could see movement. Patricia passing through the living room, talking on her phone. Bernard in his study, also on the phone. Both of them, animated, urgent. They knew. They knew everything was falling apart. "Where are the kids?" I whispered. Lawrence pointed to a second-floor window, where I could just make out colorful decorations. Amara's room, probably. "Upstairs. But Diane, we can't just storm in there. We need to wait for—" A black SUV pulled into the driveway, moving fast. 2 men got out, not in police uniforms this time, but in dark suits. One of them I recognized from the enhanced security footage. The man who'd helped Bernard load stolen supplies into his vehicle. They weren't here to protect the children. They were here to use them. "We can't wait," I said, already moving toward the house. Lawrence grabbed my arm. "That's suicide. Those men are probably armed, probably dangerous. And my grandchildren are in there." I yanked free. "I'm not letting them become hostages. I'm not letting them be used as leverage. You can come with me, or you can wait for the police. But I'm going in." For a moment, Lawrence just looked at me. Then he sighed, pulled out his phone, and sent a quick text, probably to Monica, letting her know where we were. Then he reached under his jacket and pulled out the gun I'd seen at his house. "Stay behind me," he said. "And if shooting starts, you run. You get those kids and you run. Understand?" I nodded, though I knew I wouldn't run. Not without him. Not anymore. We circled around to the back of the house, where French doors led into what I remembered as a sunroom. Lawrence tried. The handle. Locked. He pulled out his lock-picking tools, worked silently for 30 seconds, and the door clicked open. We slipped inside. The house was quiet except for voices from the front rooms. Patricia's voice, sharp with anger. "Told you we should have moved faster. Now the Tribune has everything. Corporate records, server logs, all of it." Bernard's voice, calmer but strained. "We can still contain this. The family has dealt with exposure before. We have protocols." "Protocols." Patricia's laugh was bitter. "Your protocols got us into this mess. If you hadn't been so arrogant, so convinced that stupid woman would just roll over and accept the blame. Don't put this on me. You're the one who threw the soup. You're the one who made her desperate enough to fight back." "I made her." Patricia's voice rose. "She made herself a problem. She was always a problem, always sniffing around, always watching. I knew from the beginning she'd be trouble." "Then maybe we should have chosen a different target." "It's too late for that. The question now is damage control. Marcus knows something's wrong. Those idiot contractors you hired to pose as police bungled the whole thing. The real police are probably on their way here, right now. We need to move." "What about the children?" There was a pause. Then, Patricia, her voice cold. "Their insurance. As long as we have them, Diane and Marcus won't push too hard. They'll negotiate. You want to use our own grandchildren as hostages?" "I want to survive," Patricia snapped. "I want to protect this family. Protect what we've built. Sometimes that requires difficult choices. I felt Lawrence's hand on my shoulder, steadying me, keeping me from rushing in there and doing something stupid. Footsteps on the stairs. One of the men from the SUV called down. Both kids are in the bedroom. The wife is with them. She's on her phone, trying to call someone. Shanice. Shanice was upstairs with the children. Did she know what her parents were planning? Was she part of it? Take her phone, Patricia ordered, and make sure none of them leave that room. We'll decide what to do with them once we figure out our next move. What about Marcus? He's at the police station, probably telling them everything. Marcus doesn't know everything, Bernard said. He knows about the fake warrant, maybe about some financial irregularities, but he doesn't know the extent of the operation. He doesn't know about the other businesses, the other cities. And if we're smart, he never will. You're delusional, Patricia said. That Tribune reporter has all the evidence. It's going to be front-page news by tomorrow morning. Everything. The shell companies, the fraud schemes, all of it. We're done, Bernard. The question is whether we go down alone or take others with us. I'm not going down, Bernard said, his voice hardening. I've worked too hard, sacrificed too much. My father built this operation, and his father before him. 3 generations of work, 3 generations of building power and influence in this community. I'm not letting some meddling woman destroy it all. 3 generations. The organization Lawrence had been tracking wasn't just extensive. It was legacy, a family business of exploitation and fraud, passed down like some twisted inheritance. Then what do you propose? Patricia asked. We take the children and disappear. We have resources in other states, other countries if necessary. We start over, rebuild somewhere else. And leave Shanice behind? Shanice made her choices. She can stay with her precious Marcus if she wants. But the children come with us. They're talking about kidnapping my grandchildren. I whispered to Lawrence, horror rising in my throat. They're talking about taking them and running. I know. Lawrence's jaw was clenched. But we can't move yet. Not until... Sirens. Faint, but growing louder. The police were coming. Inside the house, the voices grew more urgent. That's the police, one of the men said. We need to move now. Get the children, Bernard ordered. Put them in the SUV. We'll take the back roads out. Avoid the main streets. No. A new voice. Shanice's voice. From upstairs. No, you're not taking my children anywhere. I heard struggling. Something crashing. Amara starting to cry. I didn't think. I just moved. I burst into the front room, where Patricia and Bernard stood frozen, shocked to see me. You're not taking those children. Behind me, Lawrence had his gun drawn, pointed at the 2 men who'd started moving toward the stairs. Diane, Patricia said, recovering her composure with remarkable speed. How nice of you to join us. Saves us the trouble of hunting you down. The police are outside, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. It's over. Let Shanice and the children go. Or what? Bernard asked. You'll shoot us. I don't think so. You're not a killer, Diane. No, Lawrence said, stepping into view. But I am. Bernard's eyes widened in recognition. Lawrence Carter. They said you were dead. They were wrong. Lawrence's gun never wavered. Your men upstairs. Tell them to step away from that bedroom. Tell them to come down here, slowly, hands visible. And if I don't, then you find out if I'm bluffing. The sirens were right outside now. Red and blue lights flashed through the windows. Bernard pulled out his own gun. Where had he been hiding it? And pointed it at me. Nobody's going anywhere until we work out an arrangement. Tell the police to back off, or... The front door exploded inward. Chicago police, hands up, drop your weapons. What happened next happened in seconds. but felt like hours. Bernard swung his gun toward the police. Lawrence fired, hitting Bernard in the shoulder. Patricia screamed. The two men from upstairs came running down with their guns drawn. Police flooded the house, shouting commands. I ran for the stairs, dodging through the chaos, focused only on getting to my grandchildren. I burst into Amara's bedroom to find Shanice holding both children, backing against the wall, her face streaked with tears. "Diane," she breathed. "Oh my God, Diane. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know what they were doing." "It's okay," I said, though I wasn't sure if it was true. "It's okay now. Come on, we need to get you out of here." I took Caleb's hand, my beautiful 5-year-old grandson, who looked at me with confused, frightened eyes, and picked up Amara, who clung to me and cried into my shoulder. Shanice followed as we made our way back downstairs, where the chaos had resolved into controlled order. Bernard was on the ground, hands cuffed behind his back, blood seeping through his shirt. Patricia sat on the couch, also cuffed, her expression blank with shock. The two men were being led outside in handcuffs, and Lawrence stood in the corner, being questioned by a detective, his gun confiscated, but his demeanor calm. When he saw us, his face transformed, relief, joy, and something deeper. Love, maybe, or redemption. An EMT approached, wanting to check the children for injuries. Another approached me, concerned about my burns. But I couldn't let go of Amara, couldn't stop holding her close, couldn't quite believe we were safe. "Mom." I turned to see Marcus in the doorway, flanked by 2 police officers. His eyes found me, found his children, found his wife. "Marcus," Shanice said, her voice breaking. "I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry." He moved toward her, toward the children, but stopped when he reached me. "Mom," he said again, "you came. Even after everything I said, after everything I did, you came for them." "Of course I did," I said simply. "They're my grandchildren. You're my son. I'll always come for you." He pulled me and Amara into a hug, Caleb joining in, Shanice wrapping her arms around all of us, and we stood there in the destroyed mansion, surrounded by police and chaos, in the wreckage of lies, and we held each other. We held each other and we cried. The truth is revealed. But what happens next? Keep reading for the final resolution. The Chicago Tribune's expose on the Williams family fraud operation ran as a 3-part series and won several journalism awards. Jamal Winters became something of a local hero, and his reporting triggered federal investigations into similar operations in 6 other cities. Bernard Williams was charged with fraud, identity theft, conspiracy, and attempted kidnapping. He accepted a plea deal and was sentenced to 15 years in federal prison. In exchange for his cooperation, he provided testimony that helped dismantle what the FBI now called one of the most sophisticated and long-running fraud operations targeting African American communities in U.S. history. Patricia Williams refused to cooperate and went to trial. The jury deliberated for 4 hours before finding her guilty on all counts. She was sentenced to 20 years. On the day of her sentencing, she looked at me across the courtroom with such hatred that I felt it like a physical blow. But I also felt something else. Pity. She'd spent her whole life building an empire of lies, and in the end, all she had left was bitterness. Dominique Williams took a plea deal similar to her father's, 5 years in exchange for testimony. Essence, who it turned out had truly been unaware of the family's crimes, was not charged. She'd since moved to Atlanta and changed her last name. I heard she was seeing a therapist and trying to process the revelation that her entire childhood had been funded by fraud. The investigation into Midwest Security Solutions revealed over 300 victims. Many of them were, like me, small business owners or professionals who'd been targeted, surveilled, and robbed. The FBI set up a victim compensation fund using assets seized from the Williams family. It wasn't enough to make everyone whole, but it was something. Marcus's medical practice survived, barely. The publicity around the case had been intense, and for a while, patients stayed away, unsure if they could trust a doctor whose in-laws were criminals. But Marcus worked tirelessly to rebuild that trust. He offered free clinics, did community outreach, partnered with other local organizations. Slowly, people came back. He and Shanice stayed together, though I knew it wasn't easy. Shanice spent months in therapy, working through her own trauma and guilt. She'd truly had no idea what her parents were doing. She'd been raised to never question, never look too deeply, to accept the wealth and privilege without asking where it came from. Learning the truth had shattered her world. But she was trying. They both were, and I respected that. My relationship with Marcus wasn't magically healed. There were still wounds, still moments of awkwardness and pain. He'd apologized, repeatedly and tearfully, for not believing me. But apologies didn't erase the memory of him telling me I deserved to have soup thrown in my face. Didn't erase the fact that he'd chosen his in-laws over his own mother. We were working on it. Family therapy, Sunday dinners, taking things one day at a time. Some days were good, some days were hard. But we were trying, and that meant something. Lawrence and I, that was complicated. He'd been cleared of any wrongdoing in the shooting. Self-defense and defense of others. The DA had ruled. His 20 years of research and documentation had been invaluable to the FBI's investigation. He'd become something of an expert consultant on organized fraud operations. We spent a lot of time together during the trials and investigations, grabbed coffee, shared meals, talked about everything and nothing. The kids got to know their grandfather, tentatively at first, with Marcus's understandable wariness, but gradually warming up. One evening, about 2 months after everything ended, Lawrence took me to dinner at a nice restaurant downtown. "This feels like a date," I said, studying the menu. "That's because it is a date," he said, with a slight smile. "If you want it to be." I set down my menu and looked at him. Really looked at him. At the gray in his hair, and the lines on his face, and the weight of 20 lost years in his eyes. "I'm not the woman you left," I said quietly. "And you're not the man who left me. We're different people now. I know. And I can't just pick up where we left off. Can't pretend those 20 years didn't happen. I know that too. So what is this?" I asked. "What are we doing?" He reached across the table, took my hand. "We're starting over, from scratch, getting to know each other again, seeing if there's still something here, or if we're just ghosts haunting each other's memories." I thought about that, about the man who'd abandoned me and the man who'd saved me, about the husband I'd loved and the stranger who'd come back, about forgiveness and second chances, and whether some betrayals were too deep to overcome. "I'm not making any promises," I said finally. "I'm not asking for any, but I'm willing to try, to see what happens." He smiled, genuinely smiled, in a way that reminded me of the boy who'd bought Flamin' Hot Cheetos every evening just to see me. "That's all I'm asking for," he said. "A chance to try." So we tried. Slow, careful, one step at a time. Some days I forgot why I'd ever been angry with him. Other days, the old hurt rose up like a tide, and I had to remind myself that people could change, that circumstances mattered, that life was more complicated than right and wrong. We weren't back together, not officially, but we weren't apart either. We existed in some strange in-between space, rebuilding a foundation that had crumbled 20 years ago, seeing if we could construct something new from the ruins. As for me, I'd moved into a new apartment. Nothing fancy, but mine. My own space, my own name on the lease, my own fresh start. The burns on my face had healed, leaving only faint scars that reminded me every time I looked in the mirror of how close I'd come to losing everything. I'd gone back to work at the dental office, though my boss had been understanding about all the time I'd needed for court appearances and therapy appointments. My co-workers treated me differently now, some with pity, some with admiration, all of them fascinated by my brush with a criminal enterprise. I realized, something of a survivor, a fighter, someone who'd faced down organized crime and come out the other side. It felt strange. I'd spent so much of my life just trying to survive, just trying to keep my head above water and give Marcus a better life. I'd never thought of myself as brave or strong or remarkable, but maybe I was. Maybe I always had been, and it had just taken a pot of scalding soup and a criminal conspiracy to make me see it. One Sunday afternoon, about 3 months after the night at the Williams mansion, I was at Marcus's newly renovated condo for family dinner. It was a small gathering. Marcus, Shanice, the kids, Lawrence, and me. Monica had also become something of a family friend and often joined us, regaling everyone with stories from her investigation work. Caleb was showing me his latest dinosaur drawing, a T-Rex with an impressive amount of teeth, when Marcus called everyone to the table. "Before we eat," he said, standing at the head of the table, "I want to say something." We all fell quiet. 3 months ago, Marcus began, his voice thick with emotion, I made the worst mistake of my life. I didn't believe my mother when she told me the truth. I sided with people who were using me, manipulating me, threatening everything I'd built. And in doing so, I betrayed the woman who gave me life, who raised me, who sacrificed everything for me. He looked directly at me, tears in his eyes. "Mom, I can stand here and apologize 1,000 times, but words aren't enough. So instead, I want to show you." He pulled out an envelope. "This is the deed to my practice building. I'm putting it in both our names, yours and mine, equal partners, because none of this would exist without you. And I want you to know that I trust you, completely, the way I should have from the beginning." I stared at the envelope, unable to speak. "You don't have to accept it," Marcus continued. "You don't have to work at the practice or be involved in the business. But I want you to have it. I want you to know that everything I have, everything I am, is because of you, and I will spend the rest of my life trying to be worthy of the faith you never stopped having in me, even when I stopped having faith in you." I took the envelope with shaking hands, opened it, saw my name next to Marcus's on the official-looking document. "Thank you," I whispered. "But Marcus, I don't want you to do this out of guilt. I don't want—" "It's not guilt," he interrupted. "It's love. It's recognition. It's me finally understanding what you've always known. That family means believing in each other, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard." I stood up and hugged him, and around us, Shanice and Lawrence and Monica and the children all applauded. Later, after we'd eaten and the kids were playing in the living room, I found myself on the balcony with Lawrence, looking out over the city. "He's a good man," Lawrence said quietly. "Despite everything, despite me not being there, despite what happened with the Williams family, he's a good man. You raised him right. We'll never know what kind of man he'd be if you'd stayed," I said. "Better Worse? Different? There's no way to know. Do you wish I had? Stayed, I mean. Even knowing it might have gotten you killed? I thought about that. About the life I might have had if Lawrence had stayed. If we'd faced the threat together. Would we have survived? Would Marcus have grown up with a father? Would we have been happy? I wish, I said carefully, that you'd trusted me enough to tell me the truth, that you'd given me the choice, instead of making it for me. But I understand why you did what you did, and I'm trying to forgive you for it. Trying, he repeated, not succeeding. Forgiveness isn't a destination, I said. It's a journey. Some days, I'm further along than others. He nodded, accepting that. We stood in comfortable silence, watching the sun set over Chicago, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink and gold. Diane, Lawrence said after a while. Yeah, thank you for giving me this chance, for letting me be part of Marcus's life, part of the kids' lives, for not closing the door completely. Thank you for coming back, I said, for helping me when I needed it, for believing me when no one else did. Always, he said softly. For whatever it's worth, I'll always believe in you. Inside, I could hear Amara laughing at something Caleb had said. Marcus and Shanice talking quietly in the kitchen. Monica arguing good-naturedly with someone on the phone about her latest case. Normal sounds, family sounds, the sounds of a life rebuilt from ashes. My face still bore faint scars from the burns. My trust still bore deep scars from the betrayal. But scars were proof of survival, proof that you'd been hurt but hadn't been destroyed. I'd been burned, betrayed, accused, and hunted. I'd lost my home, my son's faith, my sense of safety. But I'd also discovered strength I didn't know I had. I'd exposed a criminal empire. I'd saved my grandchildren. I'd fought back against people who thought they could silence me with intimidation and lies. And I'd survived. Not just survived, I'd won. The phone call I'd made to Lawrence that first night had changed everything, just like I'd known it would, but not in the way I'd expected. I'd thought he'd help me prove my innocence, expose the Williams family, restore my reputation. He'd done all that, but he'd also given me something more, the chance to see myself clearly, to recognize my own courage, my own resilience, my own worth. I wasn't just Marcus's mother anymore, wasn't just a victim of circumstance or a survivor of abandonment. I was Diane Washington Carter. I was a fighter, a protector, a woman who refused to be broken, and that, more than any vindication or apology, was what truly mattered. Come on, I said to Lawrence, turning back toward the apartment. Let's go inside. Family's waiting. He smiled and followed me back into the warmth and light and noise of the home my son had built, the home I'd helped save. And for the first time in months, maybe years, I felt something close to peace. The war was over. The truth had won, and we were all still standing. Thank you for reading this journey with Diane. If you enjoyed this story, please like, comment what you thought of the ending, and subscribe for more dramatic stories. What was your favorite moment? Let me know below.